The Bangor Historic Preservation Commission last night unanimously approved a homeowner's new roof after a months-long dispute. Steve Farron was issued a notice of violation by the city earlier this year when he replaced his slate roof with asphalt shingles on his home in one of 9 historic districts in Bangor. At the commission meeting, Farron again cited the increasing cost of replacing the roof with slate and the lack of contractors available to complete the project. Farron also says he needed his project done by early summer to keep his homeowner's insurance. The board voted to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the already installed roof, given the exceptional circumstances and costs of replacing the roof with new slate.